Hey there, this is Alex from Green Sand Market, and today we're going to walk through one of my favorite baked recipes that I've made so far. This is a Cinnabon lookalike recipe, and it uses the bread machine. If you guys haven't used a bread machine, I always recommend. They make baking a lot easier. I'm not a natural baker or have a lot of baking experience, and so this was kind of a good gateway into taking on more complex baking recipes, and can't recommend enough the bread machine. You'll be able to check it out quite a bit in this video. And the purpose of this bake today was not just to eat delicious cinnamon rolls, but I wanted to be able to make a baked good that I could share with some friends. I went ahead and went to the grocery store, found some cool little to-go containers. And so the purpose of this will be to make some cinnamon rolls, package some cinnamon rolls, and then be able to kind of share that with friends. And that's just kind of one of the things that I think I've really liked about baking is being able to make things and then, give them to people and also help make other people fat instead of eating the entire batch of cinnamon rolls myself, which can be quite problematic. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and it's really not as intimidating as you might think. You'll kind of see throughout the video that, honestly, these cinnamon rolls didn't come out perfect, but when you cover it all with just cream cheese frosting, it's fine. And I just hope it makes getting into baking a little bit less intimidating. And again, with the bread machine, it's super easy. The dough comes out really nice. And yeah, so I love all the things I make with the bread machine. I'll also be including a cost breakdown at the end of this video. And that way you can see how much a regular Cinnabon cinnamon roll costs, and then how much does this baked one from home cost. And I think it's always pretty shocking to see the price differences from, what are you really paying for when you go to a Cinnabon or even just a restaurant compared to what you could have made it for at home. And just to kind of get you guys all caught up, this part that we're doing right now is just making the dough, and you'll be kind of combining the milk, eggs, margarine, flour, salt, white sugar, and yeast. And into the container that we're adding it to is the bread machine pan. And so it's got this nice little hook at the bottom that kind of twists and turns to rotate the dough. And we'll add the ingredients in a very specific layer, which you'll find in each recipe. And once you add it in that layer, we'll also go ahead and add it into the bread machine. And then that little hook at the bottom will kind of twist and turn over the next few hours and make our dough for us. And we'll go ahead and pop that beautiful Cinnabon dough out of the bread machine. And we're going to let this thing proof for just a little bit longer. I'll go ahead and lay out a baking sheet, flour it down a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and cover this and let it proof for another about 30 minutes or so. This plastic wrap organizer and plastic wrap is what we make at Green Sand Market. The plastic wrap, we worked really hard to make it biodegradable and compostable. You can use as much of it as you like, especially when baking. I mean, I tend to use probably a lot more than I really need to, but I sleep well at night where, this plastic wrap, it won't sit in a landfill for years and years. It'll actually decompose. You do just want to make sure you're kind of throwing it in your compost or even your trash and let kind of the city pick it up and compost it. And so while we're waiting for that to rise, I'll go ahead and make the filling for the cinnamon rolls. And that'll be brown sugar and cinnamon and butter, everybody's three favorite ingredients. We'll go ahead and combine those all into the bowl. And then this is what we'll kind of use as our filling for the cinnamon rolls. I do like to kind of slightly microwave my butter. I could probably do it for a lot longer and it would make it more melty. But I do like to kind of see like a thick chunk of butter still kind of sitting at the top. And then the way to kind of make it more spreadable is then mixing it in with a fork. I just really try to not overkill my butter in the microwave. And then, we're just kind of spinning up the cinnamon and the sugar and making a nice filling. And just want to make sure it's kind of all those big chunks are taken out of it. And then we'll go ahead and start to roll out our dough. This dough is a little bit trickier. It seems like it keeps trying to squish back into itself. And so I got my handy dandy rolling pin out. And then once we roll that all out into a nice rectangle, we'll go ahead and add in some butter And this butter just kind of really helps that cinnamon sugar mixture stick to the inside of the filling. And I just like to get every single nook and cranny that I can in here. I got this fancy little brush that I liked that I've had for years, just a little silicone brush that makes it a little bit fun to spread. And I really wouldn't worry about adding too much or too little. I think getting it on evenly is probably the challenge here. Just trying to make sure there's not any pieces of the cinnamon roll that are like, have a lot more filling than others. And then we'll just go ahead and roll this whole thing up. You can really take your time here. You'll kind of work from one end, kind of twist, tuck, and then slowly kind of go to the middle, twist, tuck. For anybody who, may have had some experience in the past with rolling a joint or using rolling papers, it is the exact same process that you'll go ahead and do. So go ahead and make your big old cinnamon roll joint. And then once we're good to go there, we've rolled that cinnamon roll up nice and tidy, and we'll go ahead and chop it into a few pieces. This part is probably the most challenging for me personally. I am not great at dividing things evenly or kind of guesstimating size here. I think this recipe calls for you to be able to make 10 pieces and evenly cut that. For some reason, I just can't wrap my mind around it. So I would not recommend cutting it this way. I think next time I'll actually go ahead and measure it out. Maybe a little bit overkill, but I think it really helps to keep the cinnamon rolls uniform. And I think that's probably one thing looking back is like, I really wish this would have been like, there's so many steps to make the cinnamon rolls uniform. And this was one where an extra 10 seconds of effort would have really helped make it a lot more uniform. But again, they're delicious, and oh no, I'll have to make some more cinnamon rolls. But we're just going to chop these up and place them into our baking tin, just kind of lightly greased. I'm just trying to space them out a little bit so that when they puff up, they won't be all on top of each other. I'm also trying to tuck in these tails. I think I'm going to have to do a little bit more research as to why these tails poke out so much. And now we're on to my personal favorite part, and probably everybody else's, the icing. Who doesn't love some cream cheese icing? It is absolutely delicious, and any recipe that calls for cream cheese icing, I'm already head over heels for. I always think you probably add a little bit more cream cheese than the recipe calls for, but I really wanted to follow the recipe. And so again, you mix up some butter, you'll heat that up, you'll add in some powdered sugar, cream cheese, and then mix that all together. You will be getting the blender out for this one. So, I mean, that part can be a little bit intimidating, but what I really try to do here is make the ingredients a little bit more mixed together before we break out the blender, just so that the blender doesn't have to do so much work. And so I'm just going to hand mix these all together. I just don't want to, I just cleaned my kitchen. I don't want to spray the walls with powdered sugar and stuff. And then once you get a nice little ball going, it'll mix together pretty nicely. And so now that we're good to go on the icing, we'll go ahead and take the cinnamon rolls out of the oven. And there's one in there that looks a little bit darker than maybe it should, but hey, this is why we're about to cover all those little imperfections with cream cheese frosting. And I'm really just trying to make it as uniform as possible and make sure everyone gets a nice little coating of cream cheese frosting. And then this is probably my favorite little part here is packaging these up to be able to share with people. I was really pumped on buying these little to-go containers. They're also eco-friendly. Again, the mission here at Green Sand Market is, being able to provide great products, but not at the expense of the planet or anybody's expense. And so really try to make things eco-friendly or at least neutral. And yeah, these little eco-friendly boxes are super great. Shout out to Smart and Final. I was able to get like 500 of them for like a couple bucks. And I've got a massive amount of them now, so I have to keep baking stuff to give more things away. I picked out the 2 best ones to share because I don't want to send that really burnt one to people. But I'm going to chop that little burnt one in half and kind of taste test that guy. And then also hand select a couple of these other ones that look delicious. And Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Again, the purpose is to make baking not as intimidating for people. That's how I felt personally, is like baking was just like so hard to do. And once you do it a couple times, it really isn't. These are absolutely delicious. And I got pretty good reviews from my friends as well for the little to go containers. And again, I loved just bringing a little smile and a surprise to people's faces when I show up with cinnamon rolls. It's a great way to start your day. So, and last but not least, I did want to include a price comparison from a Cinnabon, and then what is the cost to actually make this at home. And again, this is not to say, hey, you should never go to a restaurant or go to a bakery. Those things are wonderful and super convenient. I think it's just good to be aware that, there is a pretty significant price difference to pay for that convenience. And again, like a lot of these ingredients that are used in this cinnamon roll recipe are ones that you probably already have in your kitchen or refrigerator, and you'll use it for other recipes as well. It's not like there's like some secret expensive cinnamon from imported from India that we're using for this recipe. You'll use cinnamon and plenty of other stuff. So I did want to go ahead and just share that as well. The full price breakdown is on our website at greensandmarket.com. And please share any other recipes if you do like this kind of price breakdown. I love going through it. I love going through the numbers of how much it actually costs. And again, it was a lot of fun time spent. There's a lot of good memories and just kind of getting more experience with baking. Again, it's being able to share cinnamon rolls with people. There's not a price that Cinnabon could pay me for that type of memory and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I hope this inspires a couple of people to bake something of their own for the first time.